this. Fuck it. I'll do it like this. All right. Going a little bit into detail. Well, first off, I decided to take a quick moment and just kind of reflect on my thoughts on just about my esports career. Um, Back in 2018, I was originally going to be a PE teacher. PE teacher because I was inspired by my love for soccer, and so I wanted to be a soccer coach. So in order to do that, I had to um, be a PE teacher, learn my trade, get better, communicate with people, learn how to coach, and then move up the ladder to then become like a professional soccer coach. And so that was the original plan. Somewhere along the way, I kind of lost the passion and the desire to be a coach, and so I decided to look for somewhere else. So um, at that time, I was starting to get into just blogging, writing my thoughts, and just doing whatever I want to do um, by the pen or by my keyboard. Um, and so, with that said, I decided to pair that up with my love for sports, traditional sports, and just try to become like a sports journalist. And so I did that. I contributed to the school newspaper for a semester, which was around like early 2019, and then into 29, and then into the next semester, next year, late 2019, I believe. Um, no, not late 2019. No, I got my dates incorrect. So I stopped being a PE teacher in early 2018, late 2018. I started getting into sports writing, and then and then it was that time in which I got into an entrepreneurship class as a result of me now pursuing a sports journalism degree. And one of the entrepreneur teachers at the time, which was teaching at the school in my university, started talking about esports and how profitable it is and how everybody's trying to get their share of the pie, and how because of the fact that we have the gaming scene growing um, exponentially with its reach to the pop culture side, as people like us, people like myself start growing up and, being molded by playing video games as children, that then kind of leads to esports growing in tandem and growing in popularity and growing in viability and investment. So high off of that esports kind of train, he started talking to my entrepreneurship class, and I was there, and so I was listening to his thoughts and just his pitches. That's how I kind of see it nowadays. His pitch of just us getting into the scene. For myself in particular, I saw that as a potential avenue for me to get into, because I was well aware that the world of sports journalism, traditional sports journalism, was cutthroat, a cutthroat business, and it's just a matter of just building your own platform, standing out from the rest of a field that is enormously talented, and formulate a career there. For me, I saw that, recognized how difficult it was going to be, and how kind of tough it was going to do. Comparing that with esports, where sure it's not the same as traditional sports, but there's a way for people to start out and go somewhere in their own particular way. Sure, the scope might not be as big as the aforementioned traditional sports side, but I felt there was a way for me to start getting into that, start formulating a career there, and see where it goes. From that point on, I started understanding, knowing about esports, knowing the current news, current events of the time, which was again late 2018, and how I began to understand the scene. I just started looking into content videos, looking into people that were popular at the time and had a large following. Um, as a matter of fact, the first esports match that I actually like saw in person with me, fully focused on that field, not compared to like just me skimming through it, casually just seeing, oh, like what's going on over there. That was the 2018 World Championship in Korea, League of Legends, KT versus Invictus Gaming. And the first match was actually that famous base race match. And man, I was one way for me to get into the scene, and I just saw how hyped the crowd was, how hyped the casters was, and that gave me a sense of just what, at its core, esports is. You know, sure, it's basically 10 people fucking around, playing with mouse and keyboard, talking to each other amidst the headset, but there's a specialness to it. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but there's a way in which, in taking all of that, putting it together, there's a way for it to appeal to the crowd in the same way that traditional sports does. And so I saw that, and I felt, okay, I'm starting to understand that a little bit. Uh, from there, I started understanding other esports like Dota 2, and in Dota 2, of course, OG was coming off of a TI8 win, and I became a sort of a no-till fan from that, from watching all that content video and stuff like that. So from late 2018 onwards, I would believe up until like late 2020 was when I was just in the process of just understanding what it is about, what kind of things I gotta focus on, what kind of work I want to do. I can't just fucking do everything at once and just try to figure out what I want to do from there. Um, During that time, I was just doing the usual grunt work that esports journalism do in terms of writing, breaking news, SEO guides, short reports about roster moves. Sure, I wasn't a leaker, but just reporting the news, it's basic stuff. It wasn't until late 2020, at the very edge, at the very end, or more so, in the beginning of the end of the pandemic, where I started doing interviews. And I believe the first interview that I ever done was with Gunner of, back then, For Zoomers. And I remember being so fucking nervous ahead of time in doing that interview, which was for Gamezo, a very small publication based in the United Kingdom. And so myself, as a self-proclaimed introvert who prefers to not communicate much with the rest of the world and just preferring to stay in one's own lane, it was a tough task, to say the least. But I mean, there's no way one would be successful or be good in their usual job if there's no place for them to kind of start off at. So that was my case. Talking to Gunner. Later on, after that, I talked to Five Fire, a tier 2 North American League of Legends player, again for Gamezone. Then after that, I talked to Seb, which was back then a member of Anbox, which was one of the early teams of North American Valorant. And then after that, uh, I got like a heads up from the guy in charge of the esports beat in games though. His name is Shay Robson, and um, he hit me up, saw my work, my interview work, he said that if I was interested, or he asked if I was interested in covering MSI and Masters Reykjavik, back to back remotely. And so, I mean, back at that time, I was like, what the fuck? Why am I being approached? Why me? And he said, no, I'm paraphrasing him, but he said, like, you are pretty good at what you do. You're pretty decent in interviews. Maybe you can do this for the website and you could continue to work in that facet. And in addition to that, you could help us just grow as an outlet, because of the fact that we are covering MSI, one of the biggest esports events in League of Legends. So after a little bit of time of just pondering whether or not I should go through with it, I said, okay, this chance doesn't happen to everyone. Sometimes you got to get lucky when it comes to doing this kind of work. And it might just be my turn to hit that jackpot. So I told Jay, I responded to him saying, like, oh, sure, I'll do it. And I did it. And I'm not sure if y'all can see the work that I published for GameZone during that time for both MSI and Masters Reykjavik. But yeah, I did that. And then from then on, I covered LCS, and then Masters Berlin, and then Champions 2021. And after that, I started getting into different esports, specifically Valorant, and then Dota 2, and then Counter-Strike, and then everything else, and then, the story. Early 2022, after leaving GameZone and then The Click, another small publication, I joined Blix. And their way of, I think I already gave a quick rundown of the story behind how I joined Blix in a short written post I did for my esports page in medium.com. But the whole gist of it was that I'll be a contributor. I'll just basically work on whatever I want to work on, do any interviews that I want to interview, and then publish them or send them over to that website. Hey guys, Pedro back again with a little bit of a clip that will add into this video that I'm currently editing at the time of the recording. And so I felt my story wouldn't be complete if I don't talk about BlitzGG and how much of a bigger effect it had on just the progression of my esports career, and also just everything of surrounding that, because I had to give it a little bit of a more justice just because of how integral it was. And so going a little bit into that, as I said, early 2022, I left The Click, which is the latest outlet that I was a part of. And interestingly enough, at the same time, I was also a part of esports.com, that website that was active within the English esports side up until like around that same time, early 2022, just because of the fact that they had to stop working in the English portion of the website and just pour its resources onto the German site, or into the German speaking side of the website, in which of course that was based in Germany, so they had to just focus all on that from that point on. And so I left The Click, or I parted ways, or more so maybe left esports.com at the same time. And so I was left in a situation where I was by myself with little to no chance of joining like a pretty big outlet compared to like the likes of esports.com. And so, as a result of that, uh, I was left in a kind of shitty mental state where I felt really bad. I felt really bad about just having left those two outlets at the same time, and I just not touched my laptop, not touched my computer, not even touched my, or maybe I did touch my PS4 at that time for the entire week. I was down in the dumps. I just wanted to recharge and just take some time and just kind of focus on myself for an entire week, and then after that, I could just get back into the swing of things. And so after that week, I looked at every publication that there was to offer within the esports scene, be it big or small, and just applied. Sent my name out to the contact email address for each of those sites and just tell them, hi, I'm Pedro Romero. I am looking to be a contributor to the site. I mostly do interviews. If you're interested, then respond to me back, and we'll go from there. And so I did that for many of the esports outlets at the time. Obviously, I applied to, or I talked to, not really talked about. I just sent a cold application to the editors in chief of like Upcomer, and then I believe Dot Esports, and then ESTNN as well. Of course, I didn't get a response back or a reply back saying, "Sure, thank you so much, but we're not open in terms of just having positions available." So, um, I kind of expected that, but still, it kind of sucks to not have a response back. I even forgot to mention this during the original recording, but I think back in 2021, I was actually contacted by Luis Mira, which was back then, was a part of HOTV, but he messaged me right before taking the like head esports editor position over at Deserto. I might be wrong on that. Apologies to Luis if he's watching this. But yeah, he reached out to me saying that he liked one of my featured work, and we did an interview. He did an interview, like a job interview, and I talked to him, I talked to somebody else within that outlet. Ultimately, it didn't really work out, but yeah, I mean, it's not like I was completely disregarded while I was, looking for work. I had some good eyes on me, but that was 2021. Going back into 2022, not many people responded back except for one outlet, and that was Blix. At that time, it was managed by Vyacheslav Britbin Innershine, which was by that point one of the head analysts over at the FaZe Clan CS team, and he reached out. He responded back saying, "Thank you so much. Can you give us a list of past work that you've done, and then we'll kind of review that, and then we'll go from there." And so I did that. I think a week later, or less than that, he responded back saying, "Sure, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you." And I mean, for me, I kind of didn't expect for them to say yes to me, but when they did, I was like, "God damn, God damn!" They actually said yes, and they actually want me to be part of their team, and and yeah, I joined the team in around late March, early April of 2022, and from then on, I just then contributed a lot of pieces, a lot of interviews, a lot of content to that outlet. From that point up until the time it closed down in late 2023, early 2024, and so yeah. Without Blix, I would not have been able to talk to the many well-known people that I was able to talk to. Such people such as Finesse of NRG in 2023, and I believe also Marks, which is currently the LCS commissioner.
Uh, then there's PPD, the TI5 winner that said yes to an interview, to doing an interview with me in TI12. Paper Thin, caster, and Achilleos, casters that cover the VCT Pacific region in its current franchise format of Valorant esports. And then so many people that I forget. And but yeah, I wouldn't be able to do all of that had it not been for Blitz saying yes to me off of a cold job inquiry that I sent to them back at that time. But yeah, for them to say yes to me, I mean, there's nothing else for me to do but say thank you to them. And yeah, just wanted to add that little footnote. So yeah, taking my recording is around 7 minutes. Apologies, but just had to put that in. So get back to the video.
And so I did it often. I contributed basically as if I was a full time employee. That fortunately presented me with the opportunity of um, covering IM Dallas 2022, and then the Arlington Major, and then next year after that, again IM Dallas 2023, and then Champions 2023 in Los Angeles, and then after that, um, the international 12 in Seattle. And I will say, man, 2023 was just a blur. Like, I was able to do so many things that I would have never thought I would be able to do, but I did it. I did it. Um, and then after Blix kind of reshuffled its operations, let go basically all of the writers that I was working with at the end of 2023, I started going independent, just doing whatever I can to publish on video, not just in written content. And so I started checking out whatever videos that I wanted to interview um, from January up until now. At that point in January 2024, I had around 320 subscribers. And now, as of the time of the recording of this recording, I have around 2,800 subscribers. So pretty good, pretty decent growth, I would say. And yeah, it's with that momentum that I decided to come over here in Dallas in 2024 and just do this, you know, do everything that I've been doing beforehand, but in video. Sure, it might be a little bit more difficult in just trying to record everything and just figure out the sound and just doing all of that stuff. But when one might see that as a obstacle, I kind of see that as a blessing. I really do kind of see that as a blessing. And yeah, quick story. So the main catalyst as to why my channel grew so fast and so big in such a short amount of time earlier on in the year was because of the pre-kickoff interviews, and and so when the opportunity presented itself for the press to send requests for people that they want to talk to ahead of the 2024 VCT season, myself having been conditioned in a way to be rejected by all of the major players from basically all of the major teams in 2023, I basically made it a custom for me to just request multiple people from a team just to come out with just one confirmation, one guy saying yes out of like 5 people that I requested for. If I get one, out of all of them 5, then that'll be good for me. That's kind of how it was for me in covering Valorant 2023 for Blitz. And so I put that same principle over to 2024. Requested around at least two to three people per team. And so when the time came for the confirmations to to hit in or to arrive for me, I was set up with around like 21 confirmations. And so uh, that said, I was in a situation where I had to do 20 interviews within the space of 3 days, back to back to back. And so in a way, I kind of had to um, scramble and come up with a list of topics for me that are relevant to um, a certain player's trajectory at the time, and just cover that. And so that's kind of explains why during that time I was rehashing a little bit of questions uh, for all of the people that I talked to. Why I asked about the map changes, why I asked about um, adjustments from last year, why I asked about comparing this year's roster to last year's roster, and then all that jazz. But yeah, um, as a matter of fact, there was one day in which I had to I basically forced myself to not show up to my other job and just continue the remote interviews with the VCT people. That then led to me interviewing Derek of Evil Geniuses. That then led to me talking to, I believe, um, Victor Crash's Demon One of NRG. That then led to just the channel then going off to a hot start the moment I published that first interview from that time with Derek. And yeah, then after that, rest is history. So yeah, I mean, I think I got nothing else to say. uh, I just basically turned on this camera, just fully expecting that I was going to talk for a few minutes. But as I continued talking, I felt now was a better time than any to just kind of talk about my story, talk about how I got into esports, and why I am here in the first place. Why you guys know me, and why I felt compelled to talk to you. And so yeah, I felt I feel grateful that you guys are still with me, still watching me, still listening to me, still wanting to hear more of my interviews. And yeah, nothing else to say other than thank you. Because of you, I am here doing what I want to do. So I thank you again.